Buying or selling a home is one of the most important decisions you'll make in your entire life. Call the Holly Ritchie team today for a free market analysis.
Hi everyone, welcome to Spanning the Need, Stories of Your Lifestyle. Today, I have a special guest and one that we probably want to hear from because we want to know what's going on in the housing market, as a lot of people want to know. Holly Ritchie from the Keller Williams Chervenic and the Holly Ritchie team. Holly, thank you for joining us today.
Hi everyone.
We talk a lot about real estate, and people want to either get into the real estate business or they want no part of it. But I think one thing that a lot of people like to ask when you talk with people is how you got started. Why did you really want to get into it? Tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you started.
Oh, wow. God, do I really? Okay, we're going to go back to 1987. You asked for it, Anthony Spano, you got it. I graduated from college. I had a marketing degree. God, I'm telling people how old I am. I graduated from college in 87, marketing degree in real estate minor. What does a 21-year-old girl do with a marketing degree in 1987? There was no Cafaro, there was no Panera, there wasn't anything. I mean, what am I going to, I think Subway was like my options in the area. So I put out like probably 200 resumes to Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, 200 resumes to Cleveland. And I'm like, 200 resumes to Atlanta. Atlanta was hot Atlanta at the time. And I'm like, that sounds like a lot of fun. Believe it or not, I'm a Northerner. I'm what's called a Yankee. And I got call after call after call. So I had to go down and interview in Atlanta. Well, it was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday type deal. I was going in to get a job. Like I literally went there to get a job. When I got off the plane, I got a newspaper. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Atlanta newspapers. Like it was this big at the time. And their classified section was like 40 pages long. So I just started going through the classified and it said real estate. $15 an hour. Well, back in the 80s, $15 an hour was really good. So I picked up the phone and I called. They said, come on in. We're doing interviews Thursday night at 4:30. I'm like, interviews Thursday night at 4:30? How's that work? Lo and behold, I walked into timeshare. And that was my first. If you could sell timeshare, you could sell anything. And I was actually really good at it because I was, you know, when people walk into this presentation, they're all gruff. You know, the husbands are like, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, hey, we're selling vacations. Let's have a good time. I was fresh out of college, always had a tan. Let's go sell real estate. So I did that for about 3 years. I was very good because I reminded everyone of their daughter they wanted to help out, their granddaughter, their favorite niece, or something. So I sold off-site real estate, timeshare, from probably 87 to 90. And I really, really enjoyed it. I moved home to help my family finish running the golf course because my parents were getting older. And every winter I did nothing. Every winter we would shut down and I would do nothing other than marketing for the golf course. And I was getting bored. I said, let's get my real estate license. So I got my real estate license, and 22 years later, here we are today. That's my background.
Everyone, and it's funny because everyone has a different story on how they came to real estate. And
yeah,
I'm a realtor as well, and I came on a different path.
Right.
A lot of people do. And we have to mention the Holly Ritchie team and Holly Ritchie have been great towards us as the podcast to really share our stories to the community and really have made a difference in what we can accomplish as that as well. So we thank you for that. So I don't even know where to start. I think we look at the real estate market right now as a roller coaster ride, something that we have not expected over the last 3 years. What's going on? I mean, let's start with like right now, what's going on and what should people look at? Because I don't know what's going on.
Since COVID, and then you're right, it's been 3 years, 2020, 2021, and 2022. we're in 2020 was what, the pandemic. Can you believe it was like 2 full years ago? So it's crazy that it was that long ago, but there's 3 things that are spurring our market to where we're at right now. The pandemic, we're still in a pandemic. We're not out of the pandemic yet. Because of the pandemic, a lot of people don't want to work anymore, or a lot of people don't want to work the way that they had to work before. That's making challenges on the economy. People don't want to work. So owners of companies have to pay them more. So therefore they have to increase their prices of whatever it is. Every single thing that I buy, and I don't buy a lot: milk, cheese, eggs, chicken, gas, everything is off the charts right now. Well, that's part of because of the pandemic. We have 3 things that are affecting our market right now: the pandemic, P, R, and E. The P's, the R's, and the E's. The pandemic, Russia, and the economy. And all of that is bringing us to why our market's so great right now. It is a great market if you're a seller. If you're a buyer, it's still a great market, because even though interest rates have snuck up to like 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, they're still cheaper than they were in 2018. In 2018, post 2008, they were like 7%. So it's still a good interest rate. So people have to look at it as, you might pay a little bit more, but you're saving on the interest rate. And if you wait to buy, don't wait to buy, because if you wait to buy, it's going to be higher. They're forecasting the next 4 months should be good. When fall comes and our market gets cold, we get cold, the temperatures change, our real estate market will change, and they're saying that's when they think it'll level out. So right now, it's just really crazy. When you put a home on the market, literally within 24 hours, you have multiple offers, 15 showings, 24 offers. I mean, it's just off the charts. If you have a buyer that you want to get into a property, you got to get into the property day one. Why do you have to get in the property day one? Because it gives them time. I've had multiple properties that have gone under contract the first day. The buyer has buyer's remorse. I always say, gosh, if you can get in day one, you usually have time to let them sleep on it and make sure it's the decision that they want to make. Because if they put money down and they back out, they lose that money. And a lot of sellers want really good earnest money. So
well, I think we look at it as like a twofold. You said it's a great seller's market.
mm-hmm.
I mean, you're looking at homes. I think they were averaging between 17 to 25% over.
Right.
When they doing asking, or I'm sorry, when bids are coming in, where it's just increasing. So you used to be that I'd see these TikToks about 5 years ago. They'd call you, we're going to give you $20,000 under asking. We want you to pay for this and pay for this. Now it's, hey, we just want to give you the vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Before it was, the buyers were coming in $20,000 less. We want the sellers. We want the couch in the living room. We want the formal dining room set. We want all the pans in the kitchen. We want you to pay our closing costs. So before it was a little bit of everything. Now it's almost role reversed. I just had a seller who had multiple offers on his property, and the buyer paid his closing costs, not his commissions, but the buyer paid his closing costs. Just they throw in whatever they can throw in to make their deal look sweeter. It's almost like pick me, pick my offer, pick my offer.
Well, and I think that goes with buyers that want that dream house. That and I'll be very honest, we've looked for houses, and you know this as much as I have. And they're very hard to come by because there's not much inventory. The houses. I've sold houses, and other people that there's 15 offers in less than 2 days, and you're sitting down with people. So how do you help these buyers kind of navigate through? Because I've talked to people that just stop looking because they're so frustrated with the market, and that's understandable. It really is. It's common sense. I'm frustrated with it because it's just nothing that we can get to is available.
I would probably say the best thing I have done when I'm representing buyers is I'll print off the last 20 homes. Say it's in Mineral Ridge. You might not find 20 homes in Mineral Ridge, but let's just say it's 20 homes that have sold between 200 and 300,000. I'll print them off and I'll show them this is what you got to do, because it'll show what the list price was and it'll show what the sale price was. It'll show how many days it was on the market. I could pull their history and see when it went active, when it went contingent, when it went pending. If it goes active and then pending, that means it's a cash offer. At 9 times out of 10, that means it was a cash offer and they removed all contingencies. So that's really hard for a first-time home buyer, because first-time home buyer doesn't know anything about the house. So if they're removing contingencies, that's hard for them. That's hard for their mom and dad, because their mom and dad would always tell them, always get the property inspected. But in a seller's mind, the seller wants the least contingencies as possible. If it's cash, you're removing the appraisal contingency. If you remove the home inspection, you're removing the home inspection contingency. So the cleaner, if you have a buyer, and if you are a buyer and you're looking to win the property, those are the things you have to do. If you love the house, you'll be able to, your agent, whoever your agent is, I can go in and look at the electrical box. I'll know if the electrical box needs updated. If it needs updated, it's $1,000. Is that something that you're willing to take care of? If the furnace is 30 years old, you're going to know you need a new furnace, $5,000. If the AC is old, well, you'll be able to look at them. If the furnace is green, it's old. It needs replaced. But normally, even on the hot water tank, if you take a flashlight with you, you can find the serial number on anything. And if you Google Bradford White and the serial number, it'll tell you when, around the time span that it was built. But I know with hot water tanks, the date's right on there. Unless it's really, really old, that means it's really, really old. The easy thing is they don't last past 6 years. How much is a hot water tank? $750. If you put it in yourself, maybe $350. So all of those things, it makes it a big picture. But when you really put it down in writing, how bad do you want the home? Can you put in an electrical box by yourself? No, maybe my dad can. Can you put in a new hot water tank? No, but my dad's pretty handy. Your 3 big elements are furnace, AC, and roof. You want to know when, how long ago those were put on or put in. And if they weren't that old, waive that inspection. I mean, we hate to tell people to waive that inspection, but I list probably, our company, my team listed 60 homes in the last 60 days. More than 65% of them are sold. Probably 30% of them waived a home inspection. So we hate when we're in that situation, but if we educate our buyers and our buyers know by looking or even by Googling the serial number, you'll know exactly how old something is. You'll know what the cost is going to be to fix it down the road. But removing as many contingencies as possible is how you win, how you get the win. And especially, I just had 2 of my sellers just took an FHA deal. Back 3 months ago, nobody would take an FHA deal, but they're looking at them because properties are appraising. Properties are still appraising because banks, if someone has an 800 credit score, they want that property. The lender wants that property to go through because the lender's not going to make any money unless he gets it funded. So even don't be afraid of an FHA deal. It's not that bad anymore.
And I think the one question states is that, as we know that, okay, these houses are selling. Yes. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the average house price in the Mahoning Valley is between $200,000 and $300,000.
Yep.
And I think you're starting to see first-time home buyers more than anything else because they see the outlook of spending $1,500 on a rental,
right,
where they can put it into a house,
right.
But I think you're starting to see like you said, first-time home buyer remorse, right, because they just can't find what they're looking for. And so what kind of some suggestions would you give those first-time home buyers? Because I know I was one at one time, and I didn't know what was going on. I made sure that my real estate agent at the time, they knew what was going on. So that's how I got my insight.
Mm-hmm. I always say the best thing to do is have really, really good communication with your lender. Biggest thing is don't go online to get your loan. Try to go to a local bank. And that makes a difference too with my sellers, anyone that I represent. I can't remember the bank's name, but somebody came in with a bank that I've never heard of before. So I reached out, and they were in Oklahoma. So I reached out to the agent and I said, here's our concern. I said, I know they probably don't know this lender. I said, is this lender from their hometown? Do they know this lender? Turns out the husband came home, went online at 12 o'clock in the morning, and that was the person who responded. Oklahoma is probably a different time zone than us. Somebody responded, locked him in. So I asked him, I said, my sellers are really uncomfortable. We like your offer. We'd like to work with you. They just want him to go with any other bank but that bank, any other bank. We're not trying to chain them to one certain bank, but someone that if something goes wrong, I can walk into their office and say, what the heck's going on? We can reach them by phone. And she said, thank you so much. She said, I really, really wanted to get them away from an Oklahoma bank. I just didn't know how to do it. And I said, yeah, I said, put me on speaker. I said, we can conference. I said, but it's just in this market, the market's so quick right now. It could shift tomorrow. We don't want to wait 30 days to figure out that bank A can't get the deal done or we can't get a hold of them. She called me back 3 days later and they got their interest rate dropped 0.5 point because they went to a local Youngstown bank. So it pays to get funded locally because our closing costs are less. A lot of times we have better rates. Who would have thought?
Well, and I think that's a great point and I think another thing on that is try to get pre-approved before you're even looking at houses.
Right.
And I think people don't understand that. Like when you start go look at houses and you love something, it may take you 2 to 3 days to get in a pre-approved somewhere.
Yeah, no, I won't even show people homes if they're not pre-approved because they can't write an offer. You need to get a pre-approval letter to even write an offer. So if you really like the home good enough I've had people say, oh, we don't want to get pre-approved. We just want to go see it. And I said, well, do you want to buy it? If we like it, we do. And I go, you need to get pre-approved. It's a 30-second phone call. And if they don't want to make a 30-second phone call, there's a problem there and you're probably wasting your time as an agent. But yeah, you always want to get everybody pre-approved because you're not doing them justice. If it's a Friday and they look at the home at 2 o'clock on a Friday and they're calling for highest and best by Friday at 6, you just wasted their time because you know they're not going to get a pre-approval letter at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon.
And normally banks take 48 hours to get an approval letter if that's during business hours and they're in.
They do.
Well, and I think we talk about the market now, and you referenced a little bit earlier about kind of it looks like the next 4 months it'll level out. Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of talk about, hey, will the bubble burst like it did in 2008 or 2009? What's that look like?
They're not saying that the bubble is going to burst. There was so much toxic activity during 2008. Target was restructuring, Ford was restructuring, General Motors filed bankruptcy protection. Because of what was going on in lending during that time, that's why our market completely collapsed. We do have the Russia, the pandemic, and the economy right now. But believe it or not, because of what happened in 2008, they've put controls in there. So they don't expect that to happen again. They do expect a shift, meaning we're coming out of last July, people who furloughed their mortgage during the pandemic were no longer allowed to furlough their mortgage. Last August, people who were renting, the landlords were allowed to evict them now. They had a moratorium on evictions. Because of those two things, now moving forward, what if someone furloughed their mortgage last July and they still can't afford to pay it because they're not working full time? their job. I mean, even when you walk into the mall experience is completely different. If I had a girlfriend that worked at Dillard's and half of her income was on her making quota, nobody goes in the mall anymore. I mean, everyone's buying everything online. So if you had a good job that was paying you good, but all of a sudden the way America is running anymore is just changed. It's not your fault. But for all of those people who were bartenders, who were waitresses, who worked retail, that because of nothing that they have done, they now can't pay their bills, they're probably going to end up selling their home. For those people who were renting and they're still in the same position, they can't pay their rent, they're probably going to get evicted. Those landlords are probably fed up because they haven't gotten paid for 2 years. They're probably going to list those properties too. So that's why they're saying the market's going to shift, because all of those properties that are probably going to be hitting the chute. Think of it like this. When 2008 happened, within 2 years, we had more foreclosure properties on the market than anybody could think of. This is going to be similar. It's not going to be a foreclosure. It's just those people who were furloughed for so long, they're going through their savings right now to keep their mortgage payments up. When they can't do that anymore, they're going to put their home on the market. A lot of people that I've talked to are just waiting for the kids to get out of school so they could put their house on the market and rent something until the market shifts so they could buy at a better price. I have a lot of sellers who are just waiting for their kids to get out of school. So they have 3 months. They have someone, mom and dad are working. Someone needs to be at home to open up the door, take the dogs out, do whatever they need to do. But we have a lot of people in the Valley that are still compromised by the pandemic. I mean, look at restaurants. Some of the restaurants aren't even open for lunch. They're just open for one shift dinner because they can't get people to work.
Yep, exactly. And like Dunkin' Donuts, they were open usually like almost 24 hours, or at least close, comparable to that. Yeah. But now they're only open till 9 or 10 at night instead of midnight or 1.
And I thought Taco Bell was open 24 hours a day, and I'm pretty sure that changed too.
Well, I think the pandemic kind of made a lot of things really different, as well as showed us some things that we were unaware of or made things even worse.
Right.
And what would you tell someone that's kind of in that position that, hey, they're just working through stuff where we don't know what to do about if we should sell our house, what our house is worth?
Call us.
Okay. What advice would you give someone like that?
I would tell someone, if you're listening to this podcast, call Anthony Spano. He's an awesome realtor. Holly Ritchie will come with Anthony Spano. Oh, but seriously, a lot of people don't realize that they're just thinking the market's horrible. If you're not in the real estate world, you really don't know that the market's great right now. They don't know that they could get 20% more for their home right now than they could 6 months from now. So I would tell anyone, we give a free market analysis. If anybody just even has questions, what can we do? What can we do? I've rented for 2 years. I have a savings, but my rent, I just talked to someone on the way here. He was renting, and his rent was $2,200. And I said, do you realize you could buy for $1,200? You could buy a 1,500 square foot home and bigger than what you're living in now, and it would probably only be $1,200 a month. So they realize this, they just don't know where to start. So if you've got a home that you're thinking about selling, if your kids have gone, your kids are in college, or it's a 2-story home and you don't even want to go up and down the stairs anymore, call us. It's a 20-minute free market analysis. We give a free market analysis. If you decide you're just going to stay here because there's nothing to buy, great. But if you think you could sell, put your stuff in storage, go to a rental for a couple of months until the market shifts. It's just like the stock market. You want to sell when it's high. You want to buy when it's low. The market's going to shift. What comes up must come down. Everything that we buy as consumers right now is more expensive. Last January, not January 2021, but last January, I could fill up my car for $35. $35. It's over $100 now. I saw, I can't remember where I was that I was getting gas. It's over $5 a gallon right now. That's absolutely insane.
You must be putting in that heavy duty good stuff.
Middle. I use the middle one. But it's like we drive a lot. We do not have a choice. So it really is impacting everything that we do. And if you think it's impacting us, just imagine if that person who was a waitress had a lunch shift and a dinner shift, and that was paying all of her bills, and that restaurant shut down for lunch. How's she paying her bills? How is that person paying her bills? She's probably working 2 different restaurants now, a restaurant for lunch and a restaurant for dinner. It's just tough for people. People don't realize they have a way out. People don't even think. I had someone that just called me, just bought a $150,000 home before the pandemic, which was still a good market. And he just thought it's doom and gloom. The market's really bad. We're stuck here. We can't do anything. We know that we're going to lose the house. I'm like, oh my God, you're not going to lose the house. And they're like, well, we can't sell it. We don't have any equity in it. And I go, honey, your house is probably worth $75,000 more right now. They put it on the market. They were able to pay off. They put it on the market for $235,000. They sold it for $225,000. They paid off all their bills. They have a cushion and they're waiting for the market to shift to buy something. If they found something today that they loved, they would buy it. But in the price range that they're at, there's nothing on the market right now.
Well, and I think it kind of goes down to kind of the relationship, because at the same time, I've had friends call me just to say, hey, I just want to know what. Great, I have no problem helping you.
Right.
I don't think any real estate agent does. I don't think any real estate agent will be happy to just help you in any way possible.
Right.
Some are different. I'm not speaking for everyone, just speaking for myself. That because at the end of the day, they don't know where they are financially sometimes.
They have no clue. And they have no clue that even if they haven't, a lot of people, especially your parents, have embedded into your head the first 10 years, you only pay off the interest. You touch none of the principal. So that's
pretty much a true statement. So I'm still paying it off.
Yeah. So people don't understand you've already got built-in equity because the market's so much better right now. You could sell your home right now. They just don't realize it.
Let me ask you this question. I know I've had people look at it that, hey, I have an older house. I want to either renovate or build brand new, which we know that costs are high,
astronomical.
What do you say to someone that is looking to build? Maybe renovate is a good thing more than maybe building new.
I always say if you can make what you have work, I would never tell anyone go put on a 100 square foot addition, because if you put on a 100 square foot addition, you're not going to get your money back out of it. If you put $100 grand into your home and add square footage, it's just, you're probably in an area that doesn't, you're going to be like the elephant in a sea of ranches. So I always say, if you can renovate your home, or get it on the market. I mean, get it on the market and wait for the market to change. And then when the markets change, you're sold, you're in a position to buy. That's the hard thing. That's another contingency we didn't talk about. If you've got a home to sell, nobody wants to wait for your home to sell. If you write an offer with a home inspection contingency, financing contingency, home sale contingency, no seller wants to wait for a home to sell. Nobody does. So if you could sell your home, do something temporarily, move in with mom and dad, move in with your brother and sister, move in with your kids, figure out a way to get out of the situation that you're in right now, because when the market shifts, there's going to be a lot of properties that are going on the market.
Especially if you're trying to build a house, move in from one house to another. I mean, right now, I think at one point it was $225 to $275 a square foot to build. Now I think it's just come down to 200, maybe 175 to 225.
Right.
But I think it still shows that like it's still skyrocketed, because at one point it was $100 to $150. That's a 2-year increase.
Right.
And I think that shows how volatile the market really is,
Right.
especially when investors are coming in and buying up stuff.
But it's just like supplies. There's supplies that are sitting in the middle of the ocean on a barge. We can't even get supplies. We can't get wood. We can't get shingles. We can't get siding. We had a new construction project that closed in Poland, and they were 14 months behind. They were 14 months behind. Yeah, it just I think the buyer lived on a boat for like 12 of those 14 months because we couldn't get her into the house because it wasn't, and the builder wouldn't even give us a timeline because he didn't know. He didn't know when he was going to be able to get the products. They're in the middle of a barge in the middle of the ocean.
Well, usually it's what, 6 to 9 months to build
Right.
a house. Now I think they say 6 to a year,
Yeah.
maybe 14 months. So it
over
varies.
over that, just because they can't guarantee anything. They write
Exactly.
the contract, and it's almost like closing date is to be determined. It's like, how do you live like that?
So we know that Mahoning Valley, Youngstown, Warren area has been ranked in the top 10 for places to live or retire over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You agree, disagree, or I know that because we have a huge retirement here.
I think the valley in general. I think the valley in general is, I can't remember what number we showed up on cost-effective places to live.
I think it was number 4 through Realtor, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. But we're a good community. We're a safe, believe it or not, we're safer than most. We're a safe community. The economy is, like, for example, when the market went balloon, 2004, 5, and 6, California ballooned in prices, and then their prices like dropped 75%. Same thing with Las Vegas. We've always kind of been just kind of stable. Yeah, our interest rates went from 3.5 to 5.5, but we've just kind of been stable. We're not going to see a big balloon like Florida or California. We're just an easy market that has never an investor's dream, because our prices never completely dropped because we've always been low. We're considered low. I mean, it's really good. I mean, where else can you buy a 2,200 square foot home for $250,000?
Not even close when you can buy it for $750,000 in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I think it just shows the difference from our area to, like, here's another good example. In Canfield, a 25 to 3,000 square foot house may be $500,000.
Right.
Where the exact same 5,000 square foot on the north side of Youngstown in the city limits is $187,000.
Yeah.
The old $1 million row, which a lot of people see.
Right.
And I think you see a difference, but at the same time, it all levels out in some fashion.
Right. It's true.
And we look at, like, the future of the Mahoning Valley, that, like, to be honest, there has not been very much expansion.
Oh, no.
So your homes are very older. Mm-hmm. What does that look like in growth down the road, at least for the area, future wise?
They are building developments. We just had, look at downtown. Look at downtown Youngstown. They do have revitalization going on downtown. Was it Penguin Brewery? They got a multi-million-dollar loan to put a brewery in downtown. So the city does have loan programs to help revitalize. I had a development that was listed over in East Palestine, and they gave a 7-year tax abatement. So cities are, think of it as Columbiana. Columbiana gave a 15-year tax abatement if you build in the city. So cities are doing different things to help the economy, help the building. I know downtown Youngstown does it. I know East Palestine does it. I know Columbiana does it. We would love it if Canfield would do it. I don't see that's coming, but I think everyone is trying to renovate, update, and do anything to any. I think they're trying to do to downtown Youngstown what they did to downtown Kent. I graduated from Kent State University, and when I go there for like homecoming, it's completely different. I mean, when I went there, it was downtown Kent. Now it's all renovated, restored. I mean, everything is completely different from when I went to school there.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, well, let's see, I moved where I am now, 2009. And at that time, Youngstown wasn't what it was, or I would have tried to live downtown.
Right.
So I moved out that way. But at the same time, I get it. I get it that our market is, I mean, Northeast Ohio in general.
Right.
It's a very volatile market. It will change every 4 to 5 months in a manner that we can only assume. I think that's what we can assume when we talk to people. It's like, oh, what do you think? Well, this is what I think. No, that's when they say projections. Well, you were wrong. I go, that's why it's a guess. and I think that's what changes the mentality.
We know it's going to shift because what comes up must come down. What's down will go up. What was down in the past 2 years? Before the election, you could fill up a car for $35. Your cheese was cheaper, your milk was cheaper, your eggs were cheaper, your bread was cheaper. Literally, when I get my bill back from the grocery store, it's about 3 times more than it was 12 months ago. So it's just everything is changing. Everything.
I mean, even the inflation is just killing everything. So, but so Holly, if someone wants to get a hold of you just to have a conversation about the market in general, or to give any sort of just advice, how do they get a hold of you?
They can call me on my personal line. It's 330-360-5323. Any of us, Anthony, both of us can come give you a free market analysis. It's 20 minutes long. We just go, we walk through your house. I tell you, this is going to get flagged. Your electrical box might get flagged. Clean off the leaves clean off the sticks and the leaves from your roof, clean out your gutters, clean up your furnace, dust off your hot water tank, and let's get it on the market. I mean, it's a very good market right now. The things that you would have had to do post-pandemic, you don't have to do now because there's no homes on the market. If you get into a contract, somebody has a home inspection, you fix the items or you offer them a home warranty. I mean, there's several different ways we can negotiate any issues.
I think you bring up a good point is that and I would expect this from a professional, no matter if it's a plumbing specialist or a heat and water, is give me an honest opinion.
Right.
Don't kind of blow smoke and say, oh, this is the greatest thing than sliced bread. You know what I mean? And I think even if you just want to call in, I could talk to you about your house or anything. And I think that's the thing is we're just open communicators, and everyone knows me. I mean, or you, that we've been in the community long enough. But I think that it brings up a good point is we're not here to sell you anything.
No, we're just here to help.
Yeah. And it's your decision at the end of the day. So, but Holly, I appreciate your time. Thank you for kind of giving us a market of what's going on right now. I hope this helps individuals out there that are just wondering what's going on in the market. I mean, they watch news, they do everything, but at least they get a local information from a local real estate agent.
Don't be afraid to call 330-360-5323.
Holly, thank you for joining us. Now let's have a little fun. You ready for some real fun now?
Yes.
I got some questions for you. Yes. And the answer can be personal or professional.
Okay.
Okay.
This is like David Letterman.
No, right? This is not David Letterman.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not getting paid $25 million a year to do this. If I was, yeah. What's your best accomplishment?
What's my best accomplishment? God, I hate those questions.
Well, too bad.
You know what? Probably I had a really, really, really good friend that this was way before the pandemic. Her mom was sick. She wanted to get to Florida to help her mom. It was probably the stickiest home sale I ever did in my entire life. But I helped her get out of her home, not have to pay a dime, get to her mom. She moved before the house was packed up. I went to the house. And this is like $100,000 home. So it's not about the price of the home that was my greatest accomplishment. It was that I got everything done for her. I kept the grass mowed. I got her moved. I met the movers. They had to put her stuff in storage, and I helped her find a place down there in Florida. And I never left Youngstown, Ohio. So is it my best accomplishment? It was the one that made me most proud because I knew she just wanted to get with her family, and I was able to help her accomplish that.
Okay,
So
nothing wrong with that. What's your best memory, personal or professional? Doesn't matter.
My best memory was getting married in 2015. I dated my husband for 15 years. Yes, I put him through.
I could have married you.
Years. Yes, thank you. Professionally, last year we sold almost 500 homes to the tune of $84 million professionally.
Okay. What is your best experience?
You know what? Funnest experience, scariest experience was when I graduated from college. My parents thought I had another hole in my head. I got a job in Atlanta, Georgia. And at 21 years old, I packed up my little Toyota Celica and drove. Scariest thing was driving 12 hours all by myself, but no one could drive with me because I had stuff stacked to the ceiling. We didn't have moving trucks back then. Moved to an apartment, and I made it in Atlanta, Georgia, selling timeshare all by myself. They thought I was crazy. They go, "You're going to go do what?" I go, "Mom, it's real estate. It's like I got a degree in it. I got to go do something. I'm not going to do anything with my degree in Youngstown, Ohio." So I did what everybody does. If you think about it, back in the day, when people graduated in the 80s and 90s, there just wasn't, you moved to Cleveland, you moved to Pennsylvania. And that is one thing that I see with the pandemic. There are companies, you don't have to work in California anymore. You don't have to work in Florida. People are coming home. I find that an awful lot. People go away, kids, people younger than me, they graduate from college, they go out of town, they get their experience, and they always move home. 75% of the people whose first or second job is out of town, they always move home. Why? It's the Valley. It's the Valley. It's home.
And I think you had a good point is nowadays with the pandemic has really changed the way or where we're working.
Yeah.
More people are working from home and remote, so they want different items in a house, which some houses don't have. And some of those are moving home because they can work anywhere they want. Mm-hmm. And we mentioned earlier, 4th or 10th area to retire or live because of the compensation. I mean, I think I was hearing people that for California moved to like Boise, Idaho, and New York moved to Florida because the cost of living just changed dramatically. So you sold a 600 foot apartment in New York for $1.2 million. Yeah. And you buy a house for $400,000 all cash.
Back in the day, kids would, they'd get married, they'd move away. One of them got a job that they couldn't pass up. They'd be there for 3 to 5 years. They would take a pay cut to move home to Youngstown. And in their mind, they're spending less on gas because they're not driving back and forth to work so much because work commutes are always 35 to 45 minutes. Here, a work commute is 20 minutes, and they're saving more on childcare because they're moving home for mom and dad are helping them take care of the kids. It's not like that anymore. They don't have to take a pay cut. They're coming, and their salaries are usually the same because we need people who want to work. So it is a different community. We have a lot of kids that are coming home. I remember when I first started selling real estate, my first boss told me, go to the Canfield Fair, put your cards on. I ordered 2,000 cards for the Canfield Fair. She said, put them on every out-of-state license plate you could find. And I thought I would be there for 4 days. My niece, my nephew, My boyfriend and myself, we went around and it took us 2 hours. We got rid of 2,000 cards in like 2 hours because there's that many out-of-state license plates that come to the Canfield Fair. Half of those people grew up and lived here.
Yeah, that's a true statement because everyone knows when exactly the fair is every year.
Never changes.
Who's your role model?
Oh, you know what? My mom and dad, only because they were very, very, my family owns a golf course, Flying Bee Golf Course in Salem, Ohio. My mom and dad would wake up every morning at 6 a.m. My mom would get us breakfast before we would go get on the school bus. Yes, we rode the school bus every day of our lives.
There ain't nothing wrong with that. I did too.
We had to get on the school bus at 7 a.m. because we were the first ones on. We rode the bus for an hour before we got to school. First off, but we were the first ones on. But they would wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They got their family together. They got us out the door by 7. Mom would be at the clubhouse by 7 a.m. They would work till 10 p.m. So I think I was just raised with a family of workers, and that's this real estate. People ask me, how do you sell real estate? I literally work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and it's easy because when I was working at the golf course, I worked 7 to 10. So this is easy and it's fun. It's almost like, if you're a veterinarian, you love horses, you love animals. I'm in real estate. I love houses. I love real estate. My sister and my mom used to go to the laundromat every Sunday because we didn't have a washer and dryer. My sister and I would go to the open houses, talk to the ladies, and they'd give us cookies.
Yeah, well,
we went to open houses when we were like 12 years old.
Well, it's funny because you say that. It's like, yeah, you've gone to open houses, but people don't realize what you guys do behind the scenes.
Oh,
like,
no.
There's a lot of stuff that you may see that it may be a good career. That's good, but you gotta work hard and you gotta do what you gotta do.
No, it's a lot of emotions. It's a lot. And whether they're good emotions or bad emotions, you go through the buyer or the seller, whoever you represent. It's almost like I'm buying the home because I feel everything that they feel. And, if it's a blown furnace, you're feeling that with them because they need the home. They might be living with their parents in their basement. They might be raising their kids in a rental, and they got to do it. You got to do it or you're going to end up in that rental. It's almost like you have no choice. But
yeah, I get it. And last question, if there was one person you would want to meet, past or present, who would it be and why?
Donald Trump. Only because of his real estate. Only because
there's nothing wrong with that.
Everything that
everyone has a different answer.
Yes, everything that he's done real estate. I don't know how he has done everything that he's done. He's very, very harsh. How he gets away with saying the things that he says, I have absolutely no clue. But I think whether you like him in politics or not, everybody can learn something from him in business. Don't you think?
Oh, I don't really follow his professional like real estate mogul type thing. It was just I knew him from just all that stuff you see on TV and what he did as president.
Yeah, I hated him on TV. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't love to have a cup of coffee with him. I hated. I mean, what was that show? What was You're Fired?
I Apprentice or something like that.
Yes, yeah. I hated that show. I would have hated to have been on. I would have never been on that show, reality TV. But everything that he's done, he's like the Chuck Whitmans of Canfield.
Yeah.
Everything Chuck Whitman has said he was going to do, he's going to do. Like back in early 2000, when people said, "Oh, we're nervous. It's a new development. It's not on the MLS. Things are going differently." Everything that he said he was going to put a condo community in, he said he was going to put a pool. The pool got there. Everything that he said that he's going to do, he's done.
Yeah, and he's built it all around that. It's starting to look good. They're starting to do a lot of different things, and I think it'll be a success in that area in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think so too.
Holly, appreciate you taking time. Stay on. Everyone, hopefully you enjoyed our conversation about the real estate market and what's going on. You can find more information, podcasts, stories, or events at anthonyvspano.com. Everyone, have a great day. And Holly, thanks.